community. So like I said earlier, I'll be taking you this course together with Dr. Atere. I just reached out to him earlier on and he said he'll be joining us later. But then I would like to let us know how I would prefer this class to or the method we are going to use because of lectures. Subsequently, I would like us to get the entire course outline so that you can as well make research on your own, so that you'll be given opportunities to see how you can explain to the class what you've been able to gather so far. Going forward, we'll be looking at the overview of this course. I don't know if I can share my screen. Let me see if I can share my screen so that you can all follow. And the material, I want to believe we all have the material because Atere is that platform. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now let us look at the overview of what social or who social workers are. Social work generally is a practice-based profession with a broad-based knowledge. And social workers refers to professionals that are trained with the know-how and do-how specifically in social work disciplines. And they make judicious use of their training to build bridges, to establish partnerships among other professionals, bringing people or professionals from other disciplines to come together to see how they can render services to individuals, families, communities, and organizations. And although we leverage on various disciplines, but specifically within the field of psychosocial intervention and lots more. So the goal of creating this supportive environment is to enable clients and service user. Whenever we make reference to service user in this context or in the course of our lectures, we are referring to our clients. And whenever we make reference to caregivers or service providers, we are referring to social workers, right? So we try to create this supportive environment to assist our clients and service user to advocate for them, to help them identify some treatment models, resources within the environment, and to inform as well as drive home policies to address issues associated with poverty, employment, housing, and social justice, as well as supporting development of preventive programs for the less privileged. So we are not just focused on, or the profession is not just focused on addressing problems or trying to assist people identify support system they can leverage on to come out of their disadvantaged position. We also engage in intervention process that seeks to prevent occurrence or reoccurrence of some societal ills or societal challenges. Thereby, the profession engage in some form of preventive programs that are geared towards helping the less privileged. And we do this by focusing on early intervention, treatment, post-treatment with individuals, groups, and the general public through advocacy, education, and improving services, as well as resources and information. Going forward, according to the International Federation of Social Workers and International Association of School of Social Work, as the IFSW and IASSW. It refers to social work profession as that profession that facilitates social change and development. It is geared towards pushing for social cohesion, empowerment, and liberation of people. And in providing these services, it bases its approach or intervention mechanisms on some set of principles, like principles of social justice, principles of human rights, collective responsibility, respect for diversity. All these are key to social work profession. And as if that's not enough, the social work profession also leverage on some theoretical underpinnings. For example, we have theories of social work, theories in social sciences, humanities, indigenous knowledge. We leverage on all of these to engage people and structures in a way that will enhance the well-being of people and bring those who are less privileged or those who are placed at a disadvantaged position back to their mainstream of social function. So social work professional ethics and accountability refers to those ethical and legal responsibilities that social workers have to ensure that they adhere to professional standards and guidelines while carrying out their services or providing services to their clients. This involves being answerable for one's action, decisions, and responsibility within the scope of social work practice. So in the course of we engaging our clients and trying to render services to our clients, we do that taking cognizance of the professional ethics, which is based on accountability, which requires that, or which is expected of every social worker to take responsibility for his or her actions. Now, this ethical code and standard of the profession is not just there to guide the social worker's intervention. It is also there to protect the social workers in the course of rendering services, because oftentimes the services we render or the problems that makes our clients to come to us are not foreign to us. We are not immune to these problems. We too are humans, and as such, we can face this problem. So ethical standard and professional ethics would serve as that protection that will keep us in check while trying to engage our clients in a professional relationship, and it will also guide that professional relationship and keep the excesses of our clients in check too. But then we've been talking about profession, profession, profession. You may want to know what profession is. Well, profession generally has to do with or is referred to as a vocation that requires an advanced education and training. Now, how is a profession or how is social work a profession in this light? Based on the first bullet point that defines or refers to a profession as a vocation requiring advanced education and training. Please, I'll welcome, I like my class to be interactive. So I'll welcome any comments from participants. If you think you have anything to say in this regard, if social work is considered to be a profession, why do you think so? Or how is social work a profession? Please feel free to comment. Well, without wasting much of our time, okay, okay. Who wants to say something, please?
Hello, sir.
Is Olamide?
Yes, sir. Good
Okay,
morning, sir. And
please
thank you.
speak up.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir. And thank you very much, sir. It's a profession because it's more than the classroom study. It requires our going out, making researches with our day-to-day experiences, or what we see, what we read on papers, what we see online. It makes it a profession because it's more than what we read in our textbooks. These are experiences, these are the things we see daily. That is how I understand it, sir. Thank you, sir.
You're very right. Thank you very much for that insightful comment. And just like social worker Atere said yesterday, I heard him making reference to the fact that majority of us here are okay. It's like Olaposipo wants to say something. Your hand
Yes,
is
sir.
up.
Thank
Okay,
you,
please
sir.
proceed.
When we say something is a profession, it requires skill. And in carrying out the duty, it requires skill. So when we say that social work is a profession, it means that the social worker has acquired the required skills that enables him or her to carry out the duties. Thank you, sir.
We appreciate that nice comment too. I enjoy your contributions, and I encourage you to feel free to comment in our class whenever we are meeting like this. Yes, so we see that social work happens to be a profession because it requires skills. It is built on some skills and underlying principles that requires advanced education and training. Of course, the majority of us here can identify or agree to the fact that we have been practicing social work to some extent. But you're here because you want to improve, you want to update, you want to build your capacities, right? That makes it a profession. And it does not just stop here. Just like yesterday during the introductory section, when Dr. Atere was speaking, I heard him saying to us that research is central and key to social work. In fact, as one of the core values of social work, we have competence, which requires that as social workers, you constantly need to develop your capacities to make you fit and competent enough to practice. So the fact that social work profession requires advanced education and training makes it a profession. Furthermore, a profession is a job that requires specific training and is regulated by certain standards. Yes, and that's where this course is built on. A profession requires specific training. And that is why in social work, we are being exposed to some set of specific training that will equip us with what it takes, that will equip us with the know-how and the do-how to assist our clients, to intervene in their problems, to meet them at the point of need, and help them help themselves by exposing them to the resources within their environment and how they can leverage on these resources. And that is why we don't just, or the social work profession will not just approach or expose you to clients, and you're not expected to just work with your client without adhering to some certain standards. And that is why we have this course that will expose us to some of this ethical code of standards as far as social work profession is concerned. So in other words, a profession is based or regulated by some certain standards, which social work profession can identify with that. Going forward, according to Roscoe Pound, he defined profession as a group pursuing a learned act and a common calling in the spirit of public service. Yes, as a core value in social work, we have the responsibility of rendering services. Okay, I can see Dr. Atere's hand up. Oh, he's here with us. Please, can you say a word, please?
Okay, thank you very much, social worker Mbina, for that insightful beginning of the module. Just to bring together what the two participants who have raised answers on the profession, they are quite right, and what you are saying is also right. Let me just tie it together to say that for any job to be a profession, there are three legs all over the world that must be in place for it to be called a profession. I've heard two of it. The third of it has an A and B. The first part of it is the skill part of it, which has to be learned, imbibed. It connotes that for there to be transference of training and skill, there must be educators and there must be students. Those are the first two legs. Educators in schools, students in schools. That is where training takes place, lectures takes place, and degrees are awarded for you to go and practice. And you cannot just step out from that practice to begin to practice, to say you are in a profession. The three legs must be completed in you. That is why we emphasize that you must have gone to school to study social work or allied discipline as a student. So the studentship, the educatorship is there. Then coming out to practice, there must be regulation. And you pass through the regulatory body to now practice. That informs why you are here in the SWPCE, to ensure that you become a chartered member and then be licensed to practice, so that the law of the nation backs you up as a practitioner. That is what makes a profession. And like we said previously, social work was never a profession prior to 2022. We were just practicing something as desk officers. We were just representing what social work and practicing at our own level, what we know. But from 2022, the Act 25 of 2022 now makes social work to be a profession. There was a legislation in Nigeria to make social work a profession, introducing the third leg of the tripod. The school, very well. Student, very well. You have interacted. You have your degree, first degree, second degree, third degree, whatsoever. And then you are stepping out to practice. What validates your practice to make that social work a profession is what you are doing now. So a profession is three legs: studentship, lectureship, then the legislation that makes the practitioners to become professionals. I hope that is clear.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Atere, for helping to throw more lights on what is considered to be a profession and how social worker or social work profession became a profession in Nigeria. We appreciate that. Please, going forward, if there is any question, you feel free to ask for further explanation. Okay, believing we are together, we will now be looking at, okay, I was talking about Roscoe Pound's definition of a profession. And I would like to get our opinion. How does social work profession falls within the expounded boundaries of Roscopon's view of what a profession is? Again, he defines a profession as a group pursuing a learned art as common calling in spirit of public service. Who can comment on that, please? Okay, so we see that the social work profession is geared towards rendering service, and that's why it constitutes one of the core values of social work, that is services. To render services to humanity, to render services to individuals, groups, and communities. And this sets us apart from what others do. Just like what Dr. Atere said earlier, we have studentship, we have education, and we have the profession, the standard, right? Now, we are geared, or the profession is geared toward rendering services as one of its core values, and that is where social work stands. Now, who are professionals? So we have profession, which is social workers, and we have practitioners, who are referred to as the social workers. Now, in the light of, or having gotten the understanding of what a profession is all about, and we've now seen that those who fall within the expanded boundaries of social work profession are referred to as professionals. Now, what can we see, or what are those elements, those characteristics that makes one a professional? One, a professional is an expert with an expert power. Now, what makes a professional an expert? Or what makes a professional to be considered or said to have an expert power? It's because of the fact that he or she is equipped with the skills, the technical know-how and do-how to render services in line with the professional's code of ethics, the profession's objectives, mission, and lots more. Now, an expert in the light of a social worker or the social work profession, an expert is also considered to be someone who has the ability to harmonize knowledge and wisdom. So having gathered this understanding of what social work profession is all about, a professional as an expert should be able to put this together, should be able to harmonize knowledge and wisdom, all what you've known about social work, to practice. To skillful and judicious use of this knowledge. And going forward, an expert is expected to make judicious use of his or her expertise responsibly. Oftentimes, the services we render to our clients, we meet them at their point of need. We meet them at the point where some of them have lost all sense of belonging. Their sense of self-worth have been shattered by the problems they are exposed to. So as a professional and as an expert, you're expected to intervene with your skills in human relationship in a way that would uphold the integrity of the profession, in a way that it won't pose further harm to the clients, in a way it will prevent further exposure of the clients to that problem that resulted to that professional relationship in the first place. An expert or a professional is also expected to be culturally competent, challenging some repugnant cultures that are geared toward relegating some set of persons to the background, thereby building network capacity, knowledge, and synergy, which are central to social work profession. Like we said earlier, social work profession is geared toward bringing professionals from various disciplines, and that makes the profession to have a very broad base. And that is why, as a social worker, you're expected to be knowledgeable virtually in everything, because that's where we leverage on to identify resource system, support system that we can refer our clients to take advantage of within their environment, that we can leverage on in rendering support services and in building our clients' capacities. Going forward, we'll be looking at, we'll now be considering the professional ethics. I will still come back to us. Please, whenever you hear the word professional ethics, what comes to your mind? Let's get it clear so that we can now see how we can marry it to the social work profession. Please feel free to indicate if you have one or two to say.
Hello, sir.
Okay. Olamide, please speak.
Yes, sir. Professional ethics, the way I understand is, they are guidelines, they are regulations that a social worker must understand and apply in his or her day-to-day activity. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We appreciate that fine comment. Any further comments? Please do well to rename your devices so that we can easily identify you. For example, we have Technos Pack 10. And since we are trying to keep track record, we also have Galaxy Note 9. Since we are trying to keep track record of attendance, and since attendance is mandatory, it would be good if we edit our devices with our names so that we can easily identify ourselves. Okay, any further comments with regards to what professional ethics is all about?
Okay, good morning, sir. Okay, just to add to what my colleague has said, there are guidelines. There are guidelines that are put together in order to be able to carry out a given task or profession.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that fine comment too. Any further comments? Lami, you want to speak? I hope you can see my screen. Okay, we appreciate all your wonderful comments. And whenever we hear the word professional ethics, what should come top of our mind is the fact that there are a set of ethical code, ethical standards that guides the profession. And these ethical code and standards are based and are built on the professional objectives, on the profession's motives or mission. So profession is a vocation founded on specialized high educational training. So the purpose of which is to supply objective counsel and services to others for a direct and definite compensation. A professional ethics also has to do with the personal and corporate standards of behavior expected of professionals. So while you find yourself at the forefront of rendering services to your client, you need to adhere to the professional ethics, those code and expected behaviors that is expected of those who call themselves professionals or professionals in a particular profession. You need to adhere to them. Professional ethics is also concerned with one's behavior and conduct while carrying out professional work. And these ethics are codified in different cultures. Professional ethics are ethical norms, values, and principles that guide professions and the ethics of decisions made within the profession. So because you're a professional social worker, or because you're a social worker does not mean you render services to clients without taking into consideration the PI concept of social work, that is person in environment. There are things that makes these your clients who they are. And while rendering services, we need to take cognizance of those things that makes them who they are, respect them as we meet them at their point of need. And that is, of course, that is one of the ways we can contribute in building their capacities, making them to have that sense of belonging, respecting their and what. All right, so professional ethics are based on the outcomes, characters and principles, rules and code of conduct, as well as standards, right? Now, for ethics to be considered to be an ethic, it must be based on some set of principles. Now, what are those basic principles and components of ethics? One is the utility principle. Two is the rights principle. Three, we have the principle, that is impartiality and neutrality, social justice, equity, efficiency, and lot more. Now, as we proceed, you come to see how the principles of social work falls within the expanded boundaries of all of this. Now, let us take, for example, we're talking about the principle of fairness as an ethic in the social work profession and in practice. They are expected to. The fact that a client is coming to you or you're meeting a client at his or her point of need does not mean the client's identity should be removed. Does not mean the client's strengths should be underestimated. And in rendering services, we also take cognizance of the fact that the society or the community we find ourselves or while practicing is made up of people from various backgrounds and abilities. As an ethics in social work profession, it is expected that we practice in a way that gives everyone, devoid of who you are or your background, an equal playing ground. Now, in terms of social justice, principle of social justice and equity, the profession is geared toward challenging some repugnant cultures, traditions, beliefs, and lots more that seeks to relegate some set of people to the background, or that makes it difficult for some set of people to also enjoy or have access to some services within the environment they find themselves. So for an ethic to be considered an ethic, or one of its components is that it must be built on social justice, and of which we see the social work profession in this light. The social work profession is built on social justice. No wonder it constitutes one of its core values. Professional competence. It is expected that a professional must not just be satisfied by getting the passive knowledge, but then you need to continue to build your capacity by engaging in research, by trying to see how you can improve in service delivery. And of course, that's why you're here. Majority of us are practicing in various fields and to some extent doing the social work. Now, to set you aside from non-professionals, because oftentimes you hear people associating the social work to philanthropists and the rest. But like we've said earlier, we've been able to see the difference between a social worker as a professional and those who tend to render some social services, social welfare services, who are not professionals. So what makes a social worker a professional is the fact that he or she continues to build his or her competence. So as a social worker, you're expected, or as a professional, you're expected to continue to build your capacities, to be competently fit for practice. And no wonder, one of the core values of the profession is competence. And one of the ways we can build our competence is to engage in research, like we rightly said earlier, attend seminars, workshops, and of course, engaging in programs like this to build our capacities. Accountability. Another component of what makes a component of ethics is accountability. A professional is expected to practice in a way that will uphold the integrity of the profession. You must be accountable. You must take responsibility for your action. You must practice in a way that will create a safe space between you and your clients. That is the service user. You must practice in a way your clients will continue to see you as an ally. You must practice in a way that befits the professional's image or uphold the professional image. And that calls to mind the principle of transparency. So devoid of our background, devoid of our worldviews, devoid of what we hold so high, as an ethical as an ethical code of standard, it is expected that we practice in a way that we keep our own biases in check. Not trying to do things in a way that will make our clients feel that we are imposing our own decisions or choices on them. So one of the components of ethics is transparency. So as a social worker, you're expected to practice or engage your client in a transparent way. not imposing your own decision. And we do this by helping our clients to help themselves. Democratizing decision making, helping them to identify resources around themselves, building their capacities, so that even in your absence, they can continue to cope and forge ahead with life. Because definitely, from the moment a professional relationship is established, there is also a position or a point where you're expected to terminate that relationship. So before you get to the point of termination, it is expected that you must have contributed or you must assist your client in building these capacities or his or her capacity to be able to cope, to be able to go ahead, to forge ahead, even in your absence. Respectfulness, or the principle of respectfulness. The fact that your client comes to you shows he or she needs assistance. He or she trusts you. And as such, it is expected that we respect our client, devoid of their position, devoid of their problems. So what you say and how you say them matters a lot. And like I used to tell my students, your motive is important, no doubt. But no matter how good your motives are, you should also be careful on how you express your motive. If not, it becomes a threat. So once your client sees you as a threat or considers you to be disrespectful, then it becomes difficult to assist such a client. The purpose for that professional relationship will be defeated. Going forward, we will now be looking at the meaning of code of ethics. Meaning of code of ethics. Earlier on, we're talking about the components and the basic principles of ethics. And we also talked about professional ethics. Please, can we have contributions from the audience as to what the code of ethics is all about? Who have something to say? Please feel free to speak.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, ladies.
Yes, sir.
Please.
Sir, please, I want to ask that will competence, can it be part of the principles of ethics?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Of course. Like, see, as we proceed, that competence is actually a principle of social work, right? One of its core values. One of its core values.
Yes, sir.
While looking at the basic principles and components of ethics,
Yes,
what is considered to be an ethics should be based on competency, right? Like we said earlier,
yes,
when we talk about ethics, it is not just to guide social workers, service users relationship. It's also there to help the social worker improve so as to uphold the profession's image. It's also there to guide the professional's biases, to keep the professional's biases, and also avoid exposing the service user to more harm, and even keep the service user's biases in check so as not to put or engage in activities that will endanger the social workers too.
exactly.
But in this case,
Sir.
you're expected to practice in a way that will keep those excesses in. So for ethics ethics to be considered an ethic, then it must be built on accountability, it must be built on competency, of which it constitutes, or social work profession fits in because it constitutes one of its core values. I don't know if that answers your question, please. Gladys?
Yes, sir. Yes, it does, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right. Any further question? Talking about meaning of ethics. Please, you have something to say, feel to contribute. All right. Going forward, a code of ethics is a statement that expresses the primary ethical values, obligations, and goals of the profession. Code of ethics also refers to some set of commitments that serves to bear witness, promise, as a protector to an ethical obligation. Ethics too lays out clearly the professional or the profession's value and explain what they are in terms of what we ought to do in order to protect and promote the public, and what we must avoid doing in order to provide or prevent harm to the public. A code of ethics does not automatically guarantees ethical. However, a code of ethics cannot also resolve all ethical issues or disputes, or captures the richness and complexity involved in striving to make responsible choices within a moral community. Now, this is what it entails. The fact that we have ethics to guide our profession does not automatically mean that it will resolve all ethical issues. There are times you find yourself in a tight corner where you are expected to make decisions, but the choices before you, maybe 2 or 3, are all right. Those choices or those decisions are the correct, whichever one you settle for is the correct one. But then it will be difficult for you because it will expose the client to some level of harm, or it will be going against 1 or 2 principles of the profession. And when you find yourself in this situation, it is what we refer to as ethical dilemma. But then that is where competency comes in as a social worker. You're expected to use your skills in human relationship, your understanding of professional practice, the best choice among the available rights. So social workers' ethical behavior should result from their personal commitment to engagement or to engage in ethical practice. And that is why self-awareness key. Mr. Egboloki, do you want to say something?
Hello, sir.
Okay. Okay, it's like you want to say something.
Marisa.
Hello, I can't hear you.
Hello, sir.
Okay, I thought you wanted to say something.
Yes, the network is so bad, but yeah, I am. I'm trying to listen carefully, honestly, to listen to the lecture, but the network is disturbing me in where I am now. Well, most of these things are just like, as a social worker, I've gone through it in school, but I heard when people were saying something about explaining the competency and so on, skills and the ethics that abide to not confidential and so on. Hello, sir.
Yeah, I can hear you. Go on.
Okay, confidential and so on. I believe that things thought is well, but I would like you to talk about more better to me because of the network. I can't get most of the things on ground. Just
Okay.
enlighten me better on this professional ethics of social work. After now, I
Okay.
believe I will still go to my library and get some of these things from my library at home here, from the books I have in school. So let me just get
Thank you
more. Sir.
for Lucky. Actually, we're talking about, generally, we'll be talking about uh, components of
Yes.
ethics, talked about profession, what is considered to be a profession, and how a social work profession fits in to be considered a profession. And those components, ethics, or that we can see to qualify an ethical standard, and how
Okay.
social work fits in as far as the social work ethical code and standard of practice are concerned. Okay, so
Yes, sir.
as we proceed, we will now be looking at those principles, those core principles of social work, and we will consider them bit by bit. So for now, we are just looking at the overall, we are just trying to consider the overall components of ethics, what is considered to be professional ethics, and how we can see social work profession in the light of what professional ethics is all about, and how social work fits in. Okay,
Yes, sir.
we are yet to talk about those principles, but in the course of explaining, I introduced. Okay, probably you heard me when I talk about utility principle, right principles. It was when
Yes.
I was trying to explain the basic principles and components of ethics, not
Yes, sir.
social work principles at this point. I don't know if you get the point, right?
Yeah, thank you, sir. I understand.
Or any question? We have just 5 minutes to round up the session so that you can take up your next class.
Hello, sir.
All right. Lamide, please.
Yes, sir.
Speak up.
Yes, sir. The ethical dilemma. Sir, I just want you to give us like a scenario. You said it's a situation where a social worker finds him or herself in a tight corner and he needs to make a decision. Sir, I just want you to give us like an example so that we'll know how to tackle it. Thank you, sir.
All right. I remember coming up with that example, that explanation when I was talking about the meaning of ethics, right? And the fact that social work operates based on or have some set of ethics that guides the standard of practice does not mean it will resolve every problem. So the social worker is expected to build his or her capacity to be able to chest and handle these situations that he or she might find himself, especially when it comes to ethical dilemma, where you're faced with two or more right opinion, but you need to settle for the best. An example, like you've asked, is a situation where, but in social work, we're expected to, one of the basic principles of social work is confidentiality, right? And you have a client that comes to you, and the client is expressing, based on his or her problem, the client is expressing some evidence of suicidal thoughts. And in fact, the client even confided in you that he's considering taking his or her life. Of course, like we considered earlier on, what is considered to be an ethic must have a legal flavor. So social work profession does not, or the social work profession does not operate outside the expanded boundaries of what is considered to be legality or legal in a particular environment. So in the Nigerian context, it is wrong. It is criminal for someone to take his or her life. And if you watch a person trying to take his or her life, you'll be considered to be an accomplice. And another thing is, you're also expected as a social worker to uphold the confidentiality of your clients, if whatever information your client exposes you to. So you will now be in a dilemma, whether to break the principle of confidentiality or to help save that life. And of course, you definitely want to call the attention of the law enforcement agency to ensure that this person is being prevented from taking his or her life. Another example can fit in this scenario or situation where you happen to find yourself in a hospital setting where oftentimes people who are making plans to get married come for to ascertain, to check their HIV status. And you now notice that, okay, fine, there is this girl that is HIV positive, and she wants to get married. And of course, they came separately to check their status. You'll be in a dilemma whether to tell his or her fiancé that, okay, fine, this is the status of your client or your partner or your future husband or wife, right? So it becomes a dilemma because there are two right choices. One is to uphold the confidentiality of your client. The other is to ensure that you prevent further harm by not exposing the situation or maybe exposing others to the challenge or the problem. I don't know if that answers your question, Gladys. Hello, Gladys. Hello, Gladys. I thought you asked that question. Is that clear?
No,
Hello,
it's
sir. It's not
Olamide.
clear, sir.
It's Olamide, sir.
Okay, sorry, Olamide. Is that clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, please, I didn't get the conclusion of this second scenario of the person that is HIV positive and wants to get married. The conclusion, please, sir.
Okay, fine. I say as a principle and ethical standard of practice, it is expected that one of the major rules of social work, one of the activities or expectation of a social worker is to prevent further exposure of our clients to harm. And also, we take it as a responsibility to prevent the community or group of people from being exposed to a particular challenge or harm. Now, you have a client that is HIV positive. This client is aware of his or her status, but the husband is not aware, or the wife is not aware. And she is finding it difficult to inform his or her partner. Now, as a principle in social work, you're expected to uphold the confidentiality of whatever your clients or the information your client exposes you to. But then, in this case, you're in a dilemma because if you should uphold that confidentiality, you are exposing her husband or her spouse to that problem. So you have as a responsibility and principle, or let's say the ethical code of practice, it's expected that you also call the attention of his or her spouse. You can tactfully engage your client to know how to relate this to his or her spouse. And if the client refuses to, you can as well take a step further to see how you can let his or her spouse know, right? So in this situation, there are two choices that are right, whether to uphold the confidentiality of that information or to expose it to the client to save your client's spouse. And that would, in a way, try to avoid or prevent further harm to others which is expected of a social worker. I don't know if that is clear.
Yeah, very clear, sir. But I won't there be, because now the person now, let's say the spouse that is the one that is positive, won't there be consequences on that side? Maybe you, from your summary now, maybe involving the spouse, and maybe that person is sent away from the house, the implications of that summary. Because you have two choices to protect both people. So how do you handle the implications of the other person?
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate the fact that the class is becoming engaging. That's good. But then my colleague will be waiting because his class is supposed to start by 10. So I wouldn't want to eat deep into his time. Can we discuss this further when we meet next week? Is that okay? Would that be okay by you?
Okay.
And
that will be fine.
Opportunity to.
These are not scenarios too. Will be fine. Thank you very much, sir.
Exactly. That will give us opportunity to make some further research. Okay. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
We are grateful, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Would want to say